Dan Orlovsky joins us from Miami. And Dan, I'm going to get to the Titans side in a minute. And I want to frame this appropriately because obviously if Kansas City doesn't have Mahomes, they're not the same football team. But I am baffled why the Miami offense without Tua, who doesn't have superhuman arm talent, why the offense doesn't look like something similar to what they do. Those quick reads. They threw that one to Tyreek across the middle, and I felt like you all are in the booth. They're like, hallelujah. I just don't get it. What are they doing?
Yeah, it's tailor-made for Tua. It's probably, Scott, one of the most intricate offenses in the NFL, and it's a lot of stuff that's hard for people to understand at home.
Okay.
You know, when you have an offense that has got so many moving parts when it comes to the different formations that you get in and all those motions, and it's not just motions, the timing of the motions, and then the pass concepts that Mike McDaniel can then build with Tua because he sees things before they happen, probably better than anybody in the NFL in that timing, anticipation world, and that's his superpower. And to think that you're going to take any other quarterback and kind of just plant them in there and run it that way, let alone after the snap, right? But before the snap with all those moving parts,
right, it's
basically impossible. And I've said this for a long time, man, like, if you want to see the value and how good of a player he is, watch this offense right now.
No, and I understand what you're saying intuitively, right? That it's intricate, there's layers and levels to this, as the saying goes. It's just, it seems that some of those quick reads you might be able to try to hit, and it just seems like they don't call those at all absent Tua. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And also, I do think there's an element of, you know, Tennessee defensively, they just decided to kind of sit in the middle of the field. They didn't pay attention to a lot of the eye candy, the motions and whatnot, some of the ball handling. That's another thing that Tua is amazing at is, you know, the ball handling that goes on that sells things to the defense, and that's lacking as well. So you're as a play caller, you're trying to figure out what gives us a chance to at least have some form of success. And it's a passive play calling rather than an aggressive play calling. It's a hard task, right?
Understood.
And I think that, you know, with all those elements attached to it, you're just trying to get some plays started, and that was the challenge for Miami tonight.
Dan, pregame, I picked the Titans for the simple reason that I said you can't fake desperation, and this is a game you have to have. You can't afford to fall to 0-4. If desperation is reflected on their defensive side and then on the offensive side with their backup in there, if it was reflected to you, where was it evident that this was a team playing with a we have to win this game sort of a passion?
Yeah, Brian Callahan coming out in the second half, their head coach and play call and throwing the ball 4 times. You know, it was, we're going to run the football with our offensive line, and Tony Pollard and his father's one of the greatest offensive line coaches in the NFL, and said, we're not going to give the game away. Miami, with a quarterback that has been here for 2 weeks, is going to have to beat us, essentially. And that's kind of what happened. Mason Rudolph, in his own words, didn't have to do much. And this is a football team that when you talk to them, Scott, it wasn't fake in their belief in themselves. They, to a man, coach and player, said, we know we're 0-3 and you are what your record says you are, but we're not. They truly believed that outside of 2 or 3 plays that, you know, boneheaded mistakes in many ways.
Yep.
So this was a team that felt if they could get rid of some of those and just play a brand of football that was, you're going to have to beat us rather than us giving it to you, that they're going to be tough to beat. And I firmly believe that. I honestly believe with this defense and the way that they play and the left side of their offensive line, they'll be a tough out.
Look, I give them credit. That game against Green Bay was rough. After a couple games they could have won, they didn't look good. They flushed that. They go into the bye off a victory, and then they can sort the QB situation out during that time. Been a blast to listen to you guys. Look forward to doing it a little bit later this year, Dan. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, legend.
I appreciate you very much. Dan Orlovsky in Miami. For the Dolphins, well, they have not run a single offensive play with the lead this season. I know you're asking yourself, well, wait a minute, they won a game, Scott. Yes, they did, but they kicked the field goal with zeros on the clock to win. They're the 4th team to play 4 games in the last 20 seasons without having a lead at any point during regulation. Each of the previous 3 to do it finished with 2 or fewer wins, and it came to the end of the season with the #1 pick in the following draft.